So black and white, what do I think about the colors black and white? Well, it all depends, really. All depends how I feel. Because obviously everything is from your perspective. It's your perception, and that perspective can change. So it doesn't have to be absolute. So I'm going to tell you here in this video what I think about the colors black and white as I speak right now in time. So I'm going to tell you a little story. However profound or not profound you find it, I'm going to share it with you. And it's something I used to have when I was a child. It was almost like a daydream trip that I would have regularly. And as I got older, that became less and less regular till it didn't happen again. And I would daydream. I remember it happening every day, throughout the day. At some point in the day, I would just get into a daydream. And I would I would imagine, God knows what trance I was in. Because, as a child, there's a lot of things going on that you don't understand. And even as adults, we don't understand a lot of things kids go through and what they are. But we all have a suspicion that they are somehow more special than us. Anyway, so I would have this daydream of me just envisioning the cosmos, for example. So let's say I'm just looking at a picture. It wouldn't be a picture because I would be there. I would be in space. So I'd be in space and I would be looking ahead of me, and you've got, the black, the sky as it really is, as in there is no sky. You'll just see the black, and you'd see the twinkling stars, and you'd see, the earth part of that picture as well. And then what would start to occur is a peeling, almost like what I was looking at was wallpaper, and each layer will be peeled, and with each layer being peeled, something was missing, be it the stars, be it the earth. And this used to happen to me on many dimensions. Sometimes I would be in in the terrestrial sphere. I would be on Earth sometimes, and I would just literally start zooming out, start peeling back as I zoom out. So I'm on land, and then I'm in the sky, and then above the hemisphere, and then I'm in space, and then the Earth just gets smaller and smaller as I zoom out, literally as I'm going back in time, you could say. And the layers would just be peeling from wherever I'm looking, whichever viewpoint I had, whichever perspective, be it in space or on land, on the terrestrial sphere. I would just see the peeling, and it got to a point, it would always end, by the way, and when enough was peeled and there was nothing left, there would just be white, literally like a blank sheet of paper, just white. And one thing I remember, because I remember these daydreams I would have vividly. I used to have them when I was less than 10 years of age, maybe from the age of 10 onwards, even probably long before then I stopped having those daydreams. But I remember at the end, when all the wall, quote unquote, has been peeled off, there was just white, it was just blank. And whilst I would be witnessing this peeling as I zoom out of my perspective, I guess, I would have the idea in my head as the walls were peeling that there is no God. Not that I didn't believe there is a God or anything, but I would be imagining if there was no God, because I grew up in the Christian faith. I've always been very, spiritual and into religiosity and spirituality. And so I always had an unshakable faith in a higher existence. And so for whatever reason, whatever was put into my soul, my body, my spirit, whatever, while I would have these daydreams, I would be imagining what it would be like if there was no God. So with each layer peeled back, that would be a less of this idea of God. And literally when you get to nothing, i.e. the white sheet of paper, just white, when there is no God, I would feel very vulnerable, which was interesting. And I would really love to know as well if anyone out there has ever had such a daydream or knows anyone who has had such, because for all I know, it's just me out there. but I would love to know if there is anyone else out there. So that was my experience as a child. I would imagine, oh, what if there was no God? You know how you have a question in your head? Imagine there was no God. What would this existence be? So I was literally thinking like that at that age and wondering the notion. I guess I was figuring out within myself at that early age whether it is plausible to believe in a God or not. And of course, for me at the time, and even now, obviously, it's just that I use a different language. It is plausible to believe in a God. So while I would have that daydream / nightmare about there being no God and everything being peeled off and there's just blank white, for me now as an adult, I actually realize that, context matters, because whilst I saw that as a bad thing as a child, as an adult where I am, understanding what I understand, that is a great thing, what I witnessed in all those occasions. And that's the nothingness. You see, if you're looking at numerology, they would say what I just explained as being the number 0. That is God being everything and nothing, black and white. I'm trying to think of something else. Yeah, numerology, the number 0 represents God, they say, which is everything and nothing, black and white. Black being everything, white being nothing. And please don't get trapped in your ego thinking about races here, because no one on this earth is black or white. That doesn't exist. That's just a construct. Yeah? So literally, that is the number 0. That is the yin and yang. That is everything and nothing. Nothing being the stillness, the absolute, the highest supreme existence, the God. That is the white. That is the stillness. That's why it is white. White is an absence of something. White is blank. Whereas you have black, as we see in the night sky, and I guess if you were to go up into space, I would imagine everything would be black. And that is because everything is in that black. So where white is an absence of everything and black is an absence of nothing, for me that is very profound. How do you integrate that? What is the purpose of such a polarity? What is the purpose of such a contrast? I know some of you out there listening to this now would say, okay, in that case, if black is everything and white is nothing, and we are meant to be integrating, we are divine beings, isn't the perfect color gray? 50 of each, or a mix? Well, in some respects you're right, in some respects you're wrong. You're wrong in that it's not 50-50, it's not the coming together of the black and the white. Rather, you have both. That's alchemy. Alchemy is the understanding and breaking down of duality. So you have both, but it's not like you have each alone, if that makes sense. So the key in this life, for me anyway, subscribe to what you want to subscribe to, of course, but my realization in life is that rather than trying to combine white and black, good and bad, your lower self and your higher self, rather than trying to combine it in the very linear way we may think of combining it, we actually have to transmute our lower selves and we have to transmute our higher selves so that they can both coexist separately. Does that make sense? Probably doesn't. I'm not even sure I can understand that, but it makes sense to me. You have to transmute both black and white, both higher, upper, both left, right, both in, out, both on, off. You have to combine them where they can coexist separately. So that's what we are doing. I'll give you an example. Let me ramble a bit more. You have somebody who has an addiction, or somebody that has a flaw, quote unquote flaw. Because remember, we only call it a flaw because we've judged it, because of our perception. But if we're looking in absolute objectivity, there is no such thing as a flaw or a plus. It is what it is. So anyway, somebody has a flaw. They're very much in the know about life and getting to know themselves and whatever, but they have a flaw. And they feel that because of their dogma, their judgments, because of this flaw they have, they will not be able to progress. They will not be able to deserve what they're seeking. That is because they have not practiced alchemy. They haven't combined their black and their white where they can coexist separately. They're trying to fight them two parts to bring them together. So whilst they esteem their high self, they lambast their low self. Now, if you as a dual person that is having two parts, your higher self and your lower self, bash your lower self while you raise your upper self, you're going to be imbalanced. So to cut the long story short, my apologies. All I am saying is that once what I thought was a bad thing actually turned out to be a good thing, it was just my understanding that had to change for the outcome to change. My understanding. So you have white, which is nothing, and you have black, which is everything. And those two combined coexisting separately is what we all refer to as God.